Hey guys, you watching Let's Talk About Prepping. I'm Tyler, your host, and in this video, we're going to talk about the end of the world as we have known it. For real. This is something that progresses every single day. It's something that's inevitable and which none of us can avoid or really prepare for. What we're talking about is the generational handoff. This is sort of a video response to a video that Dad on YouTube made discussing the difference between millennials and the generations before. The lack of buy-in to the status quo, to tradition, to the economic system, cycles. He mentioned Macy's during that video. I think to a lot of millennials and Gen Zers, Macy's is just the people who put on that parade once a year with the Snoopy balloon. I think a lot of them have no concept that mall goers probably have a concept that a Macy's is a thing. But aside from just the economic differences, which honestly to a lot of millennials and Gen Zers, that's small. Department stores are irrelevant to them. So yes, it's sort of funny to have that conversation because the fact that it's relevant is funny to somebody like me. The fact that department stores and how they do and being an indicator of the economy is sort of a silly idea to somebody like me who's so rarely been into one, who cares so little about them. So in a lot of ways, I'm just reaffirming a lot of the things that Dad on YouTube had to say because, yeah, if those are the things that are important enough to the economy to make a difference, then we're in a lot of trouble because those are just relics. People go into department stores, but there's no loyalty to it. There's no concept of that's a continuing thing. People will get their stuff wherever they get their stuff. Usually driven by price, but pretty often not. A lot of young people make pretty stupid financial decisions when it comes to buying dumb watches or whatever. But even that, some millennials and some Gen Zers like having watches and things like that. But the concept of a lot of those different things as a common piece of what you have, what you would purchase, is going away. So 2 generations from now, are there going to be a lot of watch companies? There's not a lot of buy-in in a lot of these things. There's so many things that are relics of a system that is no longer being driven by market forces. In a lot of ways, yeah, the way that things have been is just not going to get picked up by millennials and Gen Zers. And the economic ramifications of that are the ones that we'll see first because everybody's got their finger on the pulse of those things. But in a lot of other ways, I don't see where the next generation shops as being one of the main important factors of this all. I look at just the preparedness of this generation to pick up for the last generation. There's always been screw-ups and, lackadaisical people in every generation, but I really do feel that in the coming generations that are supposed to be picking up responsibility for the world, there is a serious lack of what there's been in past generations. And for the rest of us, there's a strong feeling of blame for the older generations. No offense to those of you in my audience who have been around for a little longer than I have, but many people in my generation have more than just a little bit of resentment for the world that we're being handed. Sort of wonder what everybody's been doing with their time, enjoying how things have been. Many of us are never going to enjoy the way that things were during the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. I remember the 90s. I grew up thinking that I'd have college paid for, have a nice car paid for, and all these things that a middle class American expected. And then I graduated in '07, and my family was hit pretty darn hard by '08 recession. And so that whole white picket fence American dream thing is sort of a fairy tale of the past for a lot of people in my generation. It's still attainable, but not at the ease and, just the numbers for the population that it used to be. So there are a lot of factors that have millennials and Gen Zers saying, what's the point? What's the point of getting college debt when there have been just record numbers of people regretting it? What's the point of getting into a career when entire industries can go bankrupt? Or the people investing their money can just squander it? What's the point of unions when there's, again, industry strife? There are so many things that people of my generation have no investment for, have no buy-in. Whether that's economic, whether that's job-driven, whether it's politically driven. I think a lot of probably the best people who should be preparing to run this country are not. That's probably always the case. It's always the worst people that get it and that are trying hardest. But I often look at my generation, the next coming generations, and I ask myself, what things are going to get dropped in that generational handoff? Many of us just are poorly prepared to be the next generation of adults running the world. Just poorly equipped, not properly trained by the past generation. My parents raised me and my siblings very well, but there are still plenty of things that they probably missed. My grandparents are very old school. And it's just that kind of stuff. It's the behavioral sink. I'm not really all in on rat utopia stuff. I'll probably get demonetized just for saying that. Not demonetized, but blacklisted. But I do sort of believe that over the past few generations, we've lost a lot, and I think we'll continue to lose a lot. And I think that the things that we've lost will come and bite us in the ass pretty damn fast. Whether that's just huge economic upheavals or just a lack of people who are invested in making the world run and be a better place. Often throughout history, whenever we've had crises of different types, we've had at least tradition and cultural stability to see us through that. We don't have old school, hardcore religious types. I mean, we do, but not like we used to. We don't have enclaves of people who will just keep on doing what they've always been doing. Not anymore. So whatever happens is going to happen far and wide. I mean, worldwide, there are still places that would be culturally unaffected by a major international upheaval. But I look at the Western world, and I don't know what culture we would hang on to through a major cultural crisis of economic and just generational proportions. So I see that as one of the biggest SHTFs that we're inevitably going to face, whether there's another Great Depression or any of these things. I think that we're set up, and this is something that many of you will not have to worry about, but I think that those of us who are going to be trying to make this world work for the next 50 years are sort of screwed, because everything's set up to fall into the red, and most of us are completely unprepared to try to fix it. So, wish us luck. Anyways, hope you're all doing well out there. Everybody stay safe.